Hello friends, fans, and dairy products of all ages, this is Cheese of Ages here, and we'll be taking a look at my new favorite class in Pathfinder, the Vigilante. As opposed to my previous style when I took a look at the Kineticist, I'm actually going to have somewhat of a format to this rather than just entirely freeballing it and being incredibly vague in the long run. This first video in the series looking at the Vigilante, we're going to take a look at the basics of the class as well as hit on some points of character creation if you're looking to make a Vigilante. Now, the Vigilante's core concept is that of a hero with a dual identity, and even the text of the class says that the class can be a weird fit with conventional games, as most of the time if it's a conventional adventuring party in a traditional campaign, the villains most adventurers fight aren't the type that are like comic book villains that would go after your civilian identity if you didn't keep it secret. And adventurers, while they do have like loved ones sometimes, it's not a super common thing in campaigns, and villains are very ever rarely a threat to them. And also the Vigilante can be somewhat tethered to a town if he goes with certain talents, and a lot of his talents are based on social interactions. So if you're basically just mainly going from town to town all the time, never staying in one place too long, and spend most of your time delving into dungeons, a lot of the talents of the Vigilante are not going to come into play too heavily a lot of the time. It's not as severe as you can get the first impression of, and it isn't super cumbersome to have two identities. In fact, you can easily downplay that aspect, and it can easily not be that much of an issue to the campaign. You should try to fit the dual nature of the class, the dual identity, into the game if you can, but it's not something that's forced on you, because it's sort of a part of the class, and it's like a key aspect of the class. It's sort of a theme. You're a masked hero that has a civilian identity, but the class can easily function totally ignoring that part, and it can be a fun class to play even without it. Let's go into this dual identity mechanic, explain why it's not entirely required to have the character operate. This secret identity mechanic is not entirely required to be secret. You can have a completely public identity. You're not restricted from using any of your vigilante talents in your social identity, so you're not cut off from anything by being in one or the other, really, other than most of your social talents are based on you being a specific person. So technically you could merge the two together. This isn't like a cavalier's edicts that he has to follow, or a paladin's like religious stigmas that he has to stick to or fall. This is just a mechanic that's there. You don't lose anything if your secret identity is revealed. Well, you do lose something, but let's go over what you lose and how it's completely irrelevant. And the majority of games. We'll go through this, paring down this large series of paragraphs in the dual identity description, and just pare out what you get from it. First of all, at the top of the list, knowledge checks about one identity do not reveal information about the other, unless the Vigilante's true identity is revealed to the world at large. In the large majority of this case, occasions this doesn't matter at all in campaigns, because I don't know a single DM that ever makes villains make knowledge checks about players. Either they just straight don't know something, or they know something that the plot requires them to know. Knowledge checks almost never come into it. This is only going to apply if another player makes a knowledge check about a Vigilante, such as an NPC Vigilante, or if you're keeping your identity secret from the party and they want to investigate about it, which parties will not often do. So this knowledge check thing is pretty much entirely irrelevant to a player character playing a Vigilante, so you don't need that. Moving down, you can start in either identity, but that's not part of this. In order to change from one identity to another, it takes a minute. And it must be done out of sight from other creatures to preserve your secret. This minute transformation doesn't do anything or cut you off from any abilities aside from the things your identity being public cuts you off from, which I'm going over. The knowledge check thing is first, and this transformation time is another thing that's completely irrelevant about this, and is unnecessarily restrictive since magical disguises, even though they make you look exactly like your vigilante identity, don't count. You still need the full minute because it's a mental thing. This quick transformation thing from a hat of disguise will protect your identity and enable you to use your vigilante talents without exposing your social identity. The only thing this transformation does, this 1 minute transformation time does, is gate some archetypes in certain ways that we'll hit on later at some point, and keep you from getting these other things that are reliant on you having dual identities. So if you don't take that, this does not include the knowledge check thing, because that minute transformation doesn't affect knowledge checks. If somebody makes a knowledge check about the person you look like, if you look like your vigilante identity, they would choose to make a knowledge check about the person you look like. Therefore, they wouldn't be making a knowledge check against your other identity that you don't look like. So, this transformation is irrelevant for the first benefit. So, let's go into the other benefit. If your two identities have different alignments, you read as the alignment that you're in. For instance, if your social identity is lawful good, and your vigilante identity is chaotic good, and social identity you read as lawful good, and vigilante identity you read as chaotic good. If you're one of the archetypes where your other identity is evil, and your social one of your identities is good, then you'd register as either evil or good depending on the identity you're in. In most cases, this is completely irrelevant because most players are not going to bother changing the major spectrum of their alignment, which is good, unless you're trying to infiltrate a evil organization with your identity, which you wouldn't make that choice anyway because you can't change your vigilante identity's alignment freely. And also, this doesn't protect you against effects that change your alignment magically, as it changes them both. So this ability is nearly completely useless. The two alignments have to be within one step of each other on a single alignment axis. So you can't be lawful good and then chaotic evil, chaotic neutral. Well, actually, you can be chaotic neutral. Oh wait, no, you can't be chaotic neutral. It has to be one step. So lawful good can only be at most neutral. Can't be chaotic. It has to be neutral good or neutral. Can't be any variety of fucking evil. So this is really restrictive to your use of this ability. Effectively, the only cases, and a large majority of cases in which this ability would be remotely useful, it doesn't work in. So this component of the dual identity mechanic doesn't freaking work. You have to have one of your identities be lawful neutral or true neutral to get any use of this whatsoever in a campaign. So yeah, this particular mechanic isn't even existent pretty much. Another thing that this transformation and this dual identity grants you is it protects you from magical location magic. Not detect persons or blind sights or anything like that. It's only scrying-like effects or find person. If they have to specifically target the identity that they're looking for, and if you're not in that identity, they don't find you because you're not that person. Effectively, for scrying or similar locating spells, the identity you're not in doesn't exist if you're not in it. So, in a large majority of campaigns, villains don't scry on you anyway. So, it's only in very niche cases in which this ability does anything either. In like even in high entry games, it only like really consummate like plans things thoroughly and is like going after your party and is trying to like use every tool that the villain would use on you and is like not pulling any punches and is bothering to think of these scrying things that would try to locate you. Like, unless you're going after a major political figure with tons of resources, no villain's going to scry on you, really. This is like an anti-authority sort of thing. It's not going to be viable in the large majority of campaigns for it to actually do anything the majority of the time, so you're not really losing much of anything when you lose this. The next part, it's not really connected to this, and it functions separately from the transformation technically, because it doesn't specifically state it has to like be your vigilante identity, or you have to do the minute-long process of assuming your vigilante identity fully to get this benefit. But if you don't have a secret identity, this class ability doesn't do anything. It is simply a plus 20 circumstance bonus to your circumstance bonus to appear as your current identity, not your other identity. This specifically only applies when appearing as a vigilante identity or a social identity. It doesn't work on if you're trying to pose as anything else. So if you're currently Batman, you have a plus 20% circumstance bonus to appear as Batman. If you're Bruce Wayne, you have a plus 20% circumstance bonus to appear as Bruce Wayne. This almost never comes up, because if you look like Bruce Wayne, the only way you can trigger this is by using your vigilante abilities while looking like Bruce Wayne. So like if you throw a batarang or use Kung Fu, you get a plus 20 circumstance bonus to say, oh, I just have these because I'm a fan of Batman. Or, I just know Kung Fu. I'm not Batman. And this, in that case, should be a bluff. So, any stickler DM would have this not apply in that situation either. This is just a kind of a poorly designed ability. This should be a bluff bonus, not a disguise check. Because disguise is there seeing through what you look like, not seeing through your actions or your attempts to pass off as somebody else, which would be bluff. Disguise is used to set the DC to determine if you are that person or not. Bluff is what you would use to dismiss something as something else. Now I could see this, this is technically giving you an ability to make a disguise check to do this as well, so I suppose it's technically fixing that little issue by it's giving you another means by which to use the disguise check. You don't need to have bluff ranks to do this. You can just use your disguise ranks. So hey, there's that. But yeah, if you're Batman, nobody's going to suspect you're Bruce Wayne through something you do, in the large majority of cases. What are you going to do to trigger a suspicion that you're Bruce Wayne in the majority of circumstances? This really doesn't do much. And you're not really losing anything that triggers any semblance of frequently if you don't have a secret identity. This is no real power to the class at all, and almost never comes up even if you have a secret identity. Those are the only things you lose if you don't have a secret identity. Now, some archetypes play around with the functions of your dual identity. For instance, the Masked Maiden, your dual identity is pretty much just like a mental disorder. Because you don't need to use your vigilante identity mechanic to use your vigilante talents, your dual identity just becomes a mental trauma. Like a mental disorder that can affect how you operate as a person, entirely as a mental problem, rather than just a mask you put on, an identity you assume. It can change how this freaking ability works completely because of how this is laid out. and changes the flavor of that archetype considerably because of how this works. Baseline. The only part of this, the transformation, gives you any major effect to is if you're one of those archetypes where changing between your identities gives you some other benefit or has a detriment to it. Calling on the Masked Maiden archetype again, the Masked Maiden can put on a specific set of full plate as part of the transformation, taking only a minute and with no drawbacks. So that's an additional accessory. So if you have talents to speed up your transformation, it speeds on your ability to put that gear on. At higher levels, you could technically just put on and take off full plate as a move action. Otherwise, unless you're one of those archetypes that has a detrimental transformation where some aspect of you, like with the Masked Maiden, forces you to go through the transformation sequence and when a certain condition is fulfilled, there's no need to take the talents that speed up your transformation. Even that Masked Maiden benefit of being able to put on full plate as a move action and take it off as a move action is very minor at the point in which you get it at that speed. By then you'll have other means to fix the problems that full plate causes you on a daily basis. So, literally, there's no reason that dual identity should force you into playing a particular way if it is detrimental to the campaign you want to play in. Of course, it's a major flavor aspect of the class, so you should try to make it work in some capacity if you can. For example, some people have given tales of characters where his identity isn't necessarily secret, but he's sort of like the Mountain in Game of Thrones, where he's got if he's not kitted for battle and is just running around on a daily basis, most people wouldn't look at him. But if he's suited up and everyone's, oh, it's the Mountain, he's got his gear on and everything, he is notorious. It's oh, that's the Mountain. So it's he's technically, everyone knows who the Mountain is, but nobody freaking really pays any mind to the Mountain when he's not being the Mountain, sort of thing. Or you could just go on full Batman with it, if it fits the campaign. This is super great in social campaigns where you're fighting authority figures. There's actually a campaign path in which you're fighting against a tyrannical government, and this class just fits in it super well. And a lot of the archetypes are designed to make you function as varieties of other classes, but weaker because you're not that class. There's one that turns you into a semi-inquisitor, giving you some divine casting so you could be a healer. There's one that enables you to cast some arcane spells, or fling energy blasts, very weak energy blasts. There's ones that make you function similar to a cavalier. You could technically have an all-vigilante campaign and have members of every role of a typical party. That's just how nice the archetypes are. Very few of them are outright bad. A couple of them are terrible, but most of them are okay, this is a weak version of the Inquisitor. I could be just playing an Inquisitor, but it's not outright bad because you're not trading away massive surges of power for inferiority like the Kineticist archetypes could be. This is just baseline changing your character method-wise without snatching too much power away. So let's look at the basics of the class from just a sheer mechanical standpoint, aside from its core flavor mechanic that we've gone over. That dual identity thing kept me away from this class so long, and it's a regret, because this class is so much better than I gave it credit for. That dual identity doesn't restrict it, as I said. So let's look at what this class actually offers from a mechanical standpoint. Outside of that, not as restricting as it seems, core. The hit die of this thing is D8, so it's going to be on the fragile side, rogue fragility, and that hit die doesn't change, though some other aspects of your character can change. So you'll always be D8. Semi-fragile, but not mage fragile. Your base attack bonus uses the rogue progression, going from 0 to 15, with a maximum of like 3 attacks. You also have 2 good saves, being reflex and will. So you're sort of like a quasi-fighting, agile, strong-willed guy. These saves can be changed by archetype. And Vigilante specialization can change your base attack bonus. Now, what you get class ability-wise at level 1 when you're making your character is Dual Identity, which we've gone over, Seamless Guise, which we've gone over, a Social Talent, which we'll go over in a bit, and Vigilante specialization, which we'll go over before we go over Social Talents. That's what picks what kind of Vigilante you are. Skill-wise, you're looking at 6 plus Int modifier skill points, so nice mid-range. You can be a skill monkey, but not as much as a rogue. You also have pretty much the full arsenal of stuff that's available to a rogue skill-wise. Maybe not some of the knowledge skills. Your knowledges are limited to dungeoneering, engineering, and local, which are pretty useful knowledge skills overall, but like you don't have knowledge nature or stuff like that unless you go with particular archetypes. You also have the crucial agile warrior skills of acrobatics. You have all of the social skills, as far as I can tell. You have bluff, diplomacy, disguise, intimidate. You also have sense motive. So yeah, you seem to have all of the social skills. I don't think there's any more of those. You have craft, of course. You also have disabled device, escape artist, and stealth, and use magic device. Oh, sleight of hand too, of course. So you have all of the roguish skills. You also have survival, so you can be good in the wilderness as well. It's pretty much got every skill you could possibly need. Perception, perform, a few knowledge skills. You even got appraise. Less often taken skills like climb. You don't get the fly skill offhandedly. So yeah, you could pretty much be a skill monkey and be very versatile. Get around the battlefield easily with acrobatics if you're that kind of guy. And fulfill the niche of a thief archetype, picking locks and disabling traps and picking pockets and sneaking around for your party if you need to fill that role. So that's pretty good. Everything seems pretty good right now. And your social talents and your vigilante talents that you'll be getting later are about the caliber of a rogue talent. Some rogue talents are more powerful, while some rogue talents are much weaker than some of these. But all in all, you actually are pretty rogue-like. I wouldn't say you're as powerful as the Unchained rogue, but you're about on tier with a conventional, regular chained rogue overall. So you're pretty consummate here. Your weapons and armor proficiencies are simple in martial weapons. You've got versatility there, and you can use up to medium armor, and you can use shields. So you're pretty versatile in your equipment set up as well. Nice baseline here. Very nice core we've got here. Now this is where we go into the vigilante specialization, because this is crucial for picking what kind of vigilante you're going to be. And most of the archetypes affect this, so you would want to look over the archetypes at this point to see what variety of vigilante you would be. Consider the vigilante archetypes as additional vigilante specializations that change your class more, because so many of them change your vigilante specialization or force you into a type, like making you pick Stalker or making you pick Avenger. Speaking of which, the two base types without archetypes are Avenger and Stalker. I'll just be blunt with you. Stalker is the more fun of the two, because it gets more exclusive talents, and those talents do cooler things, and much more interesting things. While the Avenger is nice, its more exclusive talents aren't as cool or flashy. The Avenger, one of the Avenger's more powerful vigilante talents is gotten at like 12th levels, the ability to just use the pounce ability. However, it comes with like a -4 AC penalty in addition to charge penalties, so you're not taking a -6 to charge after that attack. It's cool, and Pounce is really strong, and this is a very easy way to get it. That even like cat folk have to go into like multiple feats to get Pounce. Mounted combat requires like 3 feats to get to mounted Pounce. So just the fact that you can get Pounce at 12th level with no other feat investment is rather strong. And it's DM fiat whether that penalty is mitigated by removing charge penalties. But yeah, overall, the Stalker Vigilante is more fun. What do each of these do, baseline, without talents being considered? Well, the Avenger increases its base attack bonus to full fighter progression, where it goes from 1 to 20 with 4 attacks at 20th level. So you can take some more like weapon-based feats that require a BAB of 1 right out of the gate, rather than having to wait like the Stalker Vigilante does, and you're also slightly more accurate in combat and get more attacks. Also, typically you can get away with being like more heavily armored because sneaking around and sneak attacking people isn't your like gimmick necessarily. Although the Vigilante does get some talents to get away with heavier armor even if they're a Stalker. So there's that. Now the Stalker, its base attack bonus stays rogue speed, but it gets sneak attack, modified version of sneak attack. It gets it at the same speed progression, as in you start with a D, an extra dice of damage that triggers in the same circumstances, and it grows every odd level. So where it's 1D at first level, 2D at third level, 3 at fifth, and so on. However, it works differently in certain situations. Now, this is generally about the same power as a regular sneak attack, because 1 die up or down on average just increases or decreases your damage by 1 point. So this difference from sneak attack is pretty much irrelevant, and the Stalker Vigilante gets a talent that it can take 1 time to get a rogue talent, and rogue talents that affect sneak attack specifically target Hidden Strike in this case, and some DMs may let rogue feats that target sneak attack target this Hidden Strike. So there's very, very little difference in theory with sneak attack. Now, how does it work differently? Well, one, the Stalker talents give it a lot of support to make it really powerful. In some cases, more powerful than sneak attack can be, but not necessarily like overall stronger. I'm sure like a properly built rogue could have much more effective sneak attacks, but Vigilante can get a lot of power out of sneak attacks with a lot less investment, in my opinion at least. I'm no rogue expert, mind you. And the Vigilante certainly can benefit from certain builds that can take the rogue up to a whole nother level that I may go into in the future. But anyway, the mechanical difference baseline is that if you're hitting somebody that isn't aware of your presence, isn't aware that you are a threat, or is made flat-footed by a later class ability called Startling Appearance, you deal 1d8 points of precision damage instead of 1d6, like Sneak Attack does. 1d8 instead. That's 1d8 with the scaling up, so like 2d8 at third. You know what I mean. The other situations in which you can apply Sneak Attack, such as when you're flanking them, or they're just denied their dexterity bonus, but they're aware of you, and aware that you're a threat, the damage dice are only d4s. But like I said, the moving a dice up or down basically just amounts to 1 point more or less damage, so these damage increases don't really amount to much in the grand scheme of things. Sure, that's a much larger difference when you're way high up there in levels, and that's 10d, like, whatever you're doing. That's like 10 less damage, but that's like you're hitting something that has 400 hit points. So, it's still relatively minor. It's noticeable, but it's not a huge deal. Overall, like I said, the Stalker's the more fun of the two, barring archetypes being included. And I add that little footnote there, because technically my favorite archetype for the Vigilante right now requires you to go Avenger. And I freaking love that archetype still. And it's still a competent Vigilante. for its purpose as fighting shit. So yeah, you can be a fighter vigilante, or you can be a roguish vigilante. But a lot of the talents that are not exclusive to one type over the other can make you fairly combating anyway. The Avenger has less and less interesting exclusive talents than the Stalker does, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, pick one of those two. Social talents typically only work when you're in your social identity. Nothing is keeping you from using your capabilities as a vigilante in your social talent and your social identity, especially in dungeons, when your identity isn't necessarily need to be protected. And again, you can just put a mask on, and you don't even need to go into your vigilante identity with the class feature that switches between the two as a minute-long transformation. But a lot of these only work because they're social interactions with your social identity. Some of them don't, though. We're not going to go into all of these in great detail, but they're organized kind of poorly, because they're organized alphabetically rather than by level in which you can take them, because somebody's an idiot. It's right out of the gate, the first one on the list is something you can't take until level 17. So, you got a problem there. Some of these abilities, at least one of these abilities doesn't even make sense that it's restricted to your social identity, like Case the Joint. Yeah, for some reason you have to be in your social identity and, case a location for an hour long. This is something that you should be able to do in your social identity or in your vigilante identity, depending on the situation. But yeah. A lot of these social talents are based around building fame, being notoriety for your social identity's area of expertise, while at the same time spreading tales of your vigilante identity's deeds. And your two identities get different bonuses based on that. The central one of this is another one that can be misinterpreted to be weaker than it actually is. And that's Renown, the baseline form of it. These and their promotions never get you up to the scale in which baseline you could apply it to a metropolis. It only goes up to large city, but the effect has a radius on it, so you can technically affect much larger cities than it appears to be, because your DM should allow you to use your talent on a small neighborhood within a larger city. So, it says right here, this can be the entire community or a smaller neighborhood in a larger settlement. This Renown ability is basically you spend a week in a town, or less time if you have further talents in it, to establish notoriety in an area, and in your social identity, your NPCs in the community that would start indifferent to you instead start friendly, because you've established rapport around the town. They still have their baseline attitude towards you if they would start off less than indifferent. So, yeah, this is really useful for social interactions, especially if you have mythic rules in which, commanding entrance, you go into a room and, all those people that are baseline friendly, you get a free check to make them helpful. In your vigilante identity, in the radius of this effect, you get a +4 circumstance bonus on intimidate checks. And this is powerful because this ability augments intimidate, and vigilante gets things to use intimidate for that are actually pretty powerful and strong, if they're a stalker. This is a little hint at some of the niceness the stalker vigilante presents, and to a lesser extent all varieties of vigilante. The Vigilante's talents give options to make more niche, uncommonly used things more practical to use, such as whips, and combat maneuvers, and intimidate to demoralize, which is actually something you pretty much never do, because, standard action to make one dude take a -2 penalty? Who the fuck cares? I'll just stab him. But the Vigilante, at a certain point, can actually do more things with this that are actually really freaking cool. Now, baseline this renowned talent, let's get back to that subject. It only works in a limited number of communities, and it only works on like a village size, plus a mile around that equal to your vigilante level. You can get more talents to expand this radius, and if you are away from this area for like a week, you have to reestablish your renown. I don't necessarily agree with this, but from a character standpoint, it's like why would Gotham forget about Batman if he leaves for a week? That's just silly. Why would they forget Bruce Wayne and Batman exist if he's gone a week? Why would he lose benefits? But yeah, you must be in a number of miles equal to your vigilante level, and if you leave that area for a week, you lose the benefits until you reestablish your renown. And you can only have this in one town baseline. If you change it, it moves. And you lose it, the original one. There's other talents that give you additional uses or enable you to do this faster, like a couple of days instead of an entire week. And there's other talents that enable you to maintain it longer, rather than just like losing it in a week. There's also other talents that are like useful at varying levels, such as a safe house, which pretty much gives you a free base of operations that's 10 cubic feet per vigilante level. So like, yeah, that's a 200 feet space at 20th level. And it gives you varying levels of protection against things. Objects in the place are protected. At 7th level, you are protected while you're in it, and at 13th level, you are immune to scrying, like a private sanctum spell. So yeah, this is a talent that makes the transformation sequence thingamajiggy I mentioned earlier even less useful, because you can just hide there. There's no means by which to find the safe house through magic. So if you are suspected, if you want to keep people from scrying you at a particular point in time, just have your meeting in your safe house. So yeah. There's also a talent I can recommend considerably because it's very powerful, and it can it logically should apply in your vigilante identity too. And there's no reason you lose this if your social identity isn't a secret identity. It's social grace, which gives you a +4 circumstance bonus on any mental skill other than perception or use magic device. So you can help mitigate the penalties for crafting magic items that you don't have the spell requisites for if you have the Master Craftsman spell. Not spell, but feat. Because you have a +4 to it. It works really well with a certain archetype that called the Masked Maiden, using it as an example again, that gets armor training, because then that armor training can get you access to feats that get you the ability to craft magic armor, specifically armor, and use your base attack bonus as your ranks in craft, and here you get like a +4 to it immediately, helping mitigate the penalties for not having spells. It's really fucking nice. And also, the only mental skills that you can't select with this are perception and use magic device. This is useful. You can pick a social skill with it to use with your social identity specifically. Or if your DM says, yeah, you could just freaking use this in either mode, you can take it on Intimidate. Or take it on Intimidate and not have a secret identity, and it'll work. And you can have a bonus to that Intimidate skill that you're getting a lot of use of if you're in Stalker form. And this is a separate circumstance bonus than the Renown talent, so they stack with each other, because circumstance bonuses of different circumstance stack. There's also things that keep you protected from detection of discern lies, but from detection of lies by discern lies, which is only useful if you're running into Inquisitors. Things that like augment your ability to aid others by pretending you have knowledge. There's just a whole lot of useful toolboxy things, even something that can get you intrigue feats if you're into that kind of thing. Something that augments your fame, so you get like bonuses in stores. And stuff like that. It's just a lot of decent social interaction talents. A lot of these might not necessarily be useful outside of campaigns with social elements to them. But the renown, to an extent, safe house, and especially social grace can be useful in regardless of the type of campaign it is. Especially considering there's no reason that you can't just go into your social identity in a dungeon and benefit from whatever like social grace boost you have. None of these social talents go away if your social identity is revealed, as long as like it doesn't like destroy your business. Like if you have like a business running in a barony and your vigilante identity is anti-government, of course it'll destroy your business, but you still have the talents and you can just rebuild later at some other place. Even if you're not like identity is still public knowledge. So yeah, right out of the gate, for first level talents, social talents, I could recommend Social Grace. Safe House is kind of small at 10 feet, cubic feet at this level, so maybe not take that. Renown is also really powerful, especially if the DM lets it where you have established in the area already, rather than having to just like, oh, game starts, spend a week. If they just let you have done this in the town you're currently in, which they logically should, it's also really good, because you can get some stout ability score bonuses and benefits in the town. Yeah. Other than that, there's not a lot of super useful ones at first level. A lot of them are like gated at higher level things. But those are 3 talents that are super useful and aren't too heavily dependent on having high elements of social intrigue to them. So I can recommend those. Now, going further on, why would you want to play the Vigilante other than the coolness of being Batman and having these super high social talents? These social talents let you do a lot of unique concepts about business owning and being famous and stuff like that. If you want to add that to a character, so it can spice up an existing sort of concept, fill out some holes. As well as the Vigilante talents, which are somewhat the showcase thing for bringing you into the class. There's a lot of cool talents here. And that can make it where you operate in a lot of different ways and make niche builds really consistent and not require as much feat support. For instance, if you want to dabble in combat maneuvers without having to take combat expertise, you could just grab Favored Maneuver just right out of the gate at level 2 without having to waste a feat slot on combat expertise. So if you're a Stalker Vigilante, or an Avenger even, and you don't need to spend your first level feat on combat expertise, and you could just at level 2 grab a combat maneuver feat. And personally, as a DM, I hand-wave once you've gotten Favored Maneuver, I just hand-wave the prerequisite of combat expertise on successive instances. Because, combat expertise is feat tax feat, and I don't like it. But most DMs probably won't do that. So you'd still need to get combat expertise if you wanted to, go further. Still, the fact that you can, grab improved versions of combat feats straight out of the gate is really nice. This is also pretty nice for improved grapple, considering how much more feat taxy improved unarmed strike can be. And this can, steer you into a more effective build paths if you wanted to go with, niche builds and stuff. It's nice. There's also options that give you things that are feat taxy with other things. For example, speaking of unimproved unarmed strike, right under Favored Maneuver, Fist of the Avenger is an Avenger exclusive talent, as you might guess, that gives you improved unarmed strike as a bonus feat. So effectively, you're getting a fighter bonus feat at the same rate as fighter bonus feats. so this is still slot effective. But you don't have to be stuck with like puny unarmed strike. Whenever you use your fist or a gauntlet, or anything that counts as those, you get a damage bonus equal to half your vigilante level, which will just start at 2 since you're level 2 when you take this. At level 20, you're getting 10 extra on your freaking unarmed strike. So hey, bully for you. That's nice. I've never taken it, but it's nice. There's more things that enable you to use things that are niche and different ways. For instance, you get a thing that gives you improved shield bash and also gives you 2-weapon fighting prerequisite free as long as you're using a shield in your offhand. So now a non-dex based Avenger Vigilante can not have to meet those reasonably high dex requirements to get 2-weapon fighting, just a shield bash. So that's pretty nice. You get a talent that also makes it power attack better and more effective. Gives you power attack as a bonus feat, and what amounts to a bonus feat slot from a fighter. And later, when you make power attacks, you get a shield bonus on your AC equal to the penalty you're taking from power attack. So you're more tanky wielding two-handed weapons than you might normally be, and don't have to carry a shield if you want to be a power attacky kind of guy. That's pretty nice. Further on to that, there's an option to get weapon focus, and it comes with weapon specialization later. And you don't even have to be a fighter for it. Both of these things, by themselves, are feat taxi things that aren't very slot efficient by themselves. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that weapon focus +1 to accuracy is relatively worthless for anything but prerequisites. And weapon specialization is notoriously a noob trap. And most people that optimize builds don't take weapon specialization. However, one bonus feat slot with +1 to accuracy and a small damage boost at the same time, that's pretty sexy overall. If you want to just nip a little something in there, that's nice. Also, there's more things still that follows this principle. Ignore this screams of people in the background you may hear. That's just the downstairs people babysitting. I apologize for that. Ugh. Anyway, Whip of Vengeance. That's not topical at all for the current situation. Whip of Vengeance is the thing I was going to talk about, as well as the thing above it, Vital Punishment. Whips are not very slot effective, because they require a lot of feat support to be remotely good. Whip of Vengeance is an option that gives you whip mastery right out of the gate, and at 6th level you get the other improved whip mastery feat. And to boot, if you're a Stalker Vigilante, you're not held back by your base attack bonus progression for taking whip feats, because you treat your full, for the purposes of feats, you treat your Vigilante level as your base attack bonus. This gives you so much for what amounts to a bonus feat slot. It's freaking great. Makes whips more slot effective. And whips actually combo well with the augmentations to combat maneuvers, because you can do that combat maneuver from further away. That combos well with a particular talent called Pull into Shadows, which gives you the ability to move your speed, make a drag on an unaware opponent at melee range, and then pull them back without any restrictions based on how far you've moved. So you can move your full speed, attack, and still drag, when normally you would still need to have movement left over. If you have Whip of Vengeance, and you're doing a whip with this, you can move your full speed, do this maneuver on somebody within 15 feet of you, and then drag them back. It makes that combos really well. Another thing this whip feat combos super well with is the leave an opening ability, and by extent anything that combos well with that. Because if you're a Stalker Vigilante, which is required to take leave an opening, whenever you hit with your damage from your hidden strike, you set up the enemy to, at the start of their next turn, cause them to provoke an attack of opportunity if you threaten them. That's really nice, because you hit them with the whip within 10 feet, and have that improved whip mastery, which causes you to threaten in a 10-foot area around you. Anyone you've hit with this leave an opening setup provokes from you. So you can get a lot of off-turn attacks from this if you have combat reflexes. And because of that whip and your combat maneuver support, you might be able to just trade those attacks of opportunity for combat maneuvers and control the battlefield considerably, setting up a whole bunch of people, and then when they start their turn you immediately trip them, effectively stealing an action from them at the start of their turn. If you've tripped them and somehow had this set up, you can basically just keep them down or something. No, because at the start of the turn they'd still be prone. But, yeah. The fact that you have a whip and they're standing up within 10 feet of you combos well, because you're getting an attack of opportunity at the start of the turn. They're standing up, so you're getting another attack of opportunity on them. That's a lot of battlefield control, which is something I said in my kineticist breakdowns. So you can probably see what one of these things that has made this really appeal to me. So yeah, it's really freaking nice. Another thing that combos well into the string of things, particularly with leave an opening and then by accessory whip mastery, is the Twist Fear ability available to a Stalker, which enables you to do your hidden strike damage on anybody that you've put a fear effect on, which includes via intimidation. Now you later get an ability to just drop intimidation when you enter a battle, because you spooky Batman man, and that just procs this Twist Fear, and they take your reduced hidden strike damage and non-lethal damage just from shitting their pants so goddamn hard. And that marks them with leave an opening. And if you have a whip, you threaten everybody within 10 of you. So you drop in there, mark everyone within 10 feet of you, and threaten everyone within 10 feet of you, and attack all of them at the start of their turn as each of them start a turn. That's pretty cool. And just the sheer fact that you have the ability to make people shit their pants so hard that they actually hurt themselves is pretty damned cool too. And this technically can proc multiple times on one of your later class abilities that makes a person get shaken and frightened at the same time, so you're technically dealing your full hidden strike damage to them, though it's opposed separately by damage reduction because it's two separate instances of damage. But yeah, this is a really cool ability. And it's also something that combos well with your use magic device skill, because there's a spell that can be put in a wand or a scroll called Blistering Invective, and you could use magic device to use this wand of Blistering Invective to intimidate everyone that's an enemy in a large AoE, dealing 1d10 fire damage to them on a successful intimidate check. And also getting a use it whenever you want to ability to apply your twisting fear damage and mark them with leave an opening. And that's just plain cool, that you can grab a 1 from a spell with a very similar class and just AoE intimidate to incinerate and make them shit their pants and set them up for an area effect threatening attacks of opportunity, potentially tripping them, which later, if you get improved drag, could cause your allies to attack them by provoking attacks of opportunity. And just so much freaking combinations in this thing. I've been ranting for several minutes about how these different aspects spider off into interacting with different aspects of different things for combinations of cool interactions. This class is so freaking cool. And I'm not done, because this combos with another thing available to a Stalker Vigilante called Up Close and Personal. When you attempt an acrobatics check to move through an opponent's space during a move action, you can get a free melee attack against that opponent as a swift action. So if you succeed at the acrobatics check bonus, you apply your full hidden strike damage to them. Otherwise, so you would deal your reduced hidden strike damage as if they were flat-footed. Now this is incredibly powerful, as it doesn't even need to be successful. You just need to try to move through their space as a move action, and you get a free attack as a swift action. You just effectively, if you're willing to risk getting punched in the face by an attack of opportunity, you're going to get a free extra attack around that, regardless of your success, treats them as flat-footed for the purposes of your not leave an opening, but hidden strike thing, which means you're guaranteed to apply leave an opening on this guy. And if your little Nova of Blistering Invictive doesn't hit somebody and intimidate them, you can just attempt to flip over them, successful or not, and mark them regardless. And if it does succeed, and you don't need to mark the guy, you're getting an attack as if you hadn't spent your standard action using your wand of Blistering Invective. So you can do this Blistering Invective thing and still get a melee attack in the same turn. Such synergy. And there's a kind of talent that supports this directly, that makes it where you aren't slowed down when you attempt this to tumble. It's just, it's so freaking synergistic, this. It's called sure-footed. Not only does it make you where you can move full speed when you're using acrobatics without taking any penalties, you also can do the same with stealth. And at 8th level, difficult terrain doesn't affect you anymore. That's just so good. This class is so cool. This class is so cool. And before I went down that rabbit hole of interactions, I mentioned that the thing above Whip of Vengeance, Vital Punishment, also synergizes well with Whip of Vengeance, but not necessarily as good as it synergizes with other things. But Vital Punishment also works well with the rabbit hole of interactions mentioned above that give you attacks of opportunity. And it also fulfills the previous statement of there's a lot of things about the Vigilante that makes niche options actually viable. Vital punishment gives the Vigilante, this isn't class restricted either, this has to be, like, this can be any type of Vigilante. So it's not, like, type restricted. It is class restricted. You know what I meant. It gives you Vital Strike as a bonus feat, and you don't have to meet any of the prerequisites. So you just get Vital Strike as a bonus feat, essentially. Now, normally, Vital Strike is something that few people take. It's not very slot effective. It doesn't multiply much of anything. And the grand scheme of things, Vital Strike doesn't give you a lot of damage. You know, you're usually just better off doing, like, other feats in those spots. I mean, it's okay, but, like, it lacks a little bit of something to make it super great. It's, you know, it's okay. But, it's not optimum, and, like, very few people take it because it's, But this actually makes it really freaking sexy, especially in combination with other things. Once per round, you can put Vital Strike on an attack of opportunity. You declare that attack of opportunity to be a vital punishment, and if you hit, you apply Vital Strike to it. I mean, if you don't hit, you still whiff the ability, you can't try it again. But the fact that this doubles your weapon damage on attacks of opportunity, as well as if you move, spend a move action during your turn and whack somebody when you can't full attack, makes Vital Strike, you know, Vital Strike being able to do both of these things, actually makes Vital Strike decent as hell. Especially considering if you choose to spend feat slots on better versions of Vital Strike, improved and greater, it works with this ability. This is really nice, and it works in concert with those things that gives you attacks of opportunity very easily. It also works very well with up close and personal, because if you're moving with up close and personal, you can then follow that up with your standard action Vital Punishment thing, because you can't up close and personal and still full attack because it's a move action. But with up close and personal, you're getting a free attack. So you're effectively getting that Vital Strike single attack that's 2 weapon damage, and then another attack. So you're almost getting a full attack. That's actually pretty sexy. There's just so much synergy. So much synergy in this class. I highly recommend looking this over and giving it a shot. There's other stuff here that like pads holes in things, such as armor skin that lets you enables you to wear heavier armor without penalty. And there's also things that give you additional uses of skills. That, like Blind Spot, that helps you get past Blind Sense, Blind Sight, and other things similar to that, which is really okay. There's also the ability to get a combat feat as a bonus feat via the combat skill. Only the Avenger can take that, though. That's one of its few, like, good things. But a lot of combat feats are available through talents anyway, so it's not extreme. There's also a variation of not environment weapon, but catch off guard and throw anything that is more restricted but gives you the effects of both effectively, making another more accessible niche option of improvised weapons. It doesn't count as defeats, but you select a preferred terrain, and as a swift action you just pick up an improvised weapon and can use it without penalty. And every 5 levels, like 5th, 10th, 15th, and 20th, you get additional environments you can do this in. The finding an improvised weapon isn't really anything new because you could do that anyway, but it removes the penalties for both types of improvised weapon, so that's nice. You get the ability to take evasion as a talent if you're a Stalker Vigilante. get means by which to bypass certain types of damage reduction. There's a really cool ability called Focalization for the Stalker that enables you to, when you deal hidden strike damage to a corporal foe with melee attack, you get a sort of cleaving effect where you deal non-lethal equivalent of your reduced hidden strike damage to an opponent adjacent to that guy, even if they're not within your melee range. That's freaking nice. There's just so many nice things here. There's also a talent for the Avenger Vigilante that gets armor proficiency up in there. You can, at some point, like at 8th level, which is like reasonably early, get Hide in Plain Sight as a Stalker Vigilante. You can get the Investigator's Inspiration ability as a talent, a weaker form of it. There's just so many things in here, and so many things interacting with each other. They even get a supercharged version of Lethal Grace. It's actually somewhat better than the Unchained Rogues version of it. Let me read it to you. The Vigilante combines strength and speed into incredibly deadly attacks, gaining weapon finesse as a bonus feat, and if you already have weapon finesse, you can swap it for something else you qualified for at that level. When you use weapon finesse to make an melee attack using dexterity bonus on attack rolls and your strength bonus on damage rolls, you also add half your Vigilante level on damage rolls. This bonus damage is not reduced or increased if the Vigilante is wielding two-handed or offhand weapons. So effectively, you can use it with two-handed weapons, or with a weapon in your offhand. It's just, it specifically states it doesn't affect your damage doing that. So, while the version on the Unchained Rogue to apply dexterity to damage rolls like easily does more damage a baseline early on, probably, if you have a strength score and a decent dex score. Like, let's say you have a strength score of like 14 at least. You're getting 2 damage from your strength score on your weapon finesse attacks, because you didn't dump dexterity, you didn't dump strength entirely. And this, like, gives you an extra, like, half your level of damage. So, let's say the other dude has the dexterity of 18. So he's getting a +4 to damage. As soon as you hit 4th level and Vigilante, you're already doing as much damage. At 20th level, by then it's progressed to 10, so you're compensating, if not exceeding, the effects of getting, like, ability score adjustments to dexterity from items. And if you go with like the very common high-level items that can boost both strength and dexterity, you're still getting damage progression from those items. Yeah, that's actually pretty sexy. That's good. Oh, and I briefly might have mentioned that some of the talents available to Vigilantes are actually found in the Mythic rule set. Here's one of them that I just spotted as I was scattering around the list. Living Shield. It's a talent in the Guardian Mythic path, and I think Champions might have it too. I'm not sure though. But as an immediate action, whenever a Vigilante is grappling a creature and is targeted by an attack, he can attempt a combat maneuver check against the target of his grapple. This isn't a grapple combat maneuver. If he succeeds, the creature he's grappling becomes the new target of the attack. If the check fails, the creature escapes the grapple, and the Vigilante is the target of the attack as normal. The ability must be used after the attack is declared against the Vigilante, but before the attack is made and the results are revealed. So, you can basically use people as a meat shield, which is cool. And that's technically a mythic ability that's just available from level 1. Not level 1. Level 2. There's no level restriction on this. A level 2 Vigilante can pick up a talent that is available to mythic people. And we're talking like from a rule set that's designed to make you be able to play Hercules. Yeah. And that's not the only ability that the Vigilante gets that is like that. Later it gets an ability called Frightening Appearance, that is basically a less friendly, like less versatile version of Commanding Entrance from the martial mythic path, in which it only works to scare people, and it has less range because it never scales up and you can't hit people outside of it, but it otherwise works completely the same and synergizes with the twist fear thing I mentioned earlier. So yeah, there is so much versatility and combinations in this class. There's just so much good here. Now this video is run on super long already as I've gone through all of this stuff. But yeah, that's just basically what you would need to know if you could be interested in this class, as well as some early level advice. You've got the skill selection of a rogue with almost as many skill points. You've got roguelike hit die. You've got rogue base attack bonus, with reflex and will saves being good. A social talent to first level, a vigilante specialization that could make your BAB full fighter progression, or turn you into a rogue as far as giving you sneak attack and giving you an arsenal of like cool stunts to do. And later you'll grow into getting vigilante talents that enable even an Avenger vigilante with its more simplistic style of fighting to do cool shit and combine niche mechanics or non-niche mechanics in new and cool ways. And there's just so much about this that encourages like improvisation and situations and stuff. I love it. Next video will be in similar format to this, and we'll be talking about archetypes that I really like for this. There's a lot of archetypes. We're going to be breaking down ones that I super cool like, and their strengths and weaknesses. But not at this precise moment. It might take a while. I might do a video specifically about my favorite ones, or one of them. Probably multiple ones. But don't expect it super fast because there's a lot of archetypes. I'll also like go over ones that you should never take because they're terrible. Spoilers. It's the Brute. Because it essentially gives you a barbarian rage that attacks allies. So, yeah. No. Don't take that. You'll punch allies. And that's clearly terrible. But yeah, anyway. This will be Cheese of Ages for the time being. Signing off. I hope you enjoy the Vigilante. And this made you give it a look. Look forward to some more, maybe some guidance style material, and some breakdowns of some really cool archetypes. Bye-bye.